In the 8th year of my marriage to Julian Thorne, he took a film student as his mistress. He threw money and resources at her, and in just 6 months, he turned the barely 18-year-old girl into a red-hot celebrity in the entertainment industry. When the girl mentioned she was in an unfamiliar place, he ditched our wedding anniversary to fly over 10 hours to London to be with her. He told me, "Clara, she's not like you. She's naive. Too simple and pure. I have to protect her, to support her." He appeared with her everywhere, making no effort to avoid the media and paparazzi, frequently showing up in entertainment news. He took her to all sorts of galas and parties, letting his buddies call her sister-in-law. Someone warned him not to be so high profile, to be careful the one at home didn't cause a scene. Julian replied with absolute certainty, "Clara, she wouldn't. And she wouldn't dare." Their love was a whirlwind, known to all. No one remembered that I was Julian Thorne's legal wife. Later, the young woman, sporting a baby bump, publicly pressured him for marriage on a TV show. The already shaky stock price of Thorne Corporation plummeted. Julian came to me, wanting to quell the storm together. I asked him how he planned to deal with the girl. He said, "After the child is born, we'll register it under your name." I was so thunderstruck by his words I nearly fell off the 8-pack abs of the college student I was with. My parents always said you should never be with a man who has no brain. I immediately had my lawyer draft a divorce agreement and fled across the ocean to take refuge. The next time we met, outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, Julian grabbed my hand, pleading humbly, "Clara, I've broken it off with her. Can we please not get a divorce?" I pulled my hand away. "No." Julian's mistress, Scarlett, won the Best Newcomer award at some television festival. To be fair, her acting was atrocious. The award was something Julian bought for her, supposedly a gift to comfort her after audiences relentlessly mocked her terrible acting. In our small circle's private chat group, people were already congratulating Scarlett and wishing her and Julian a long and happy future together. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought Scarlett was Julian's wife. Showing me, the actual wife, zero respect. I didn't know what Julian's intention was in adding Scarlett to this group. Was he planning to promote his mistress? Or was he just trying to get under my skin to please his little lover? But I wasn't going to tolerate it. Using my tablet, I logged into Julian's social media account, downloaded a random explicit image from some 18 website, posted it in the group chat with Scarlett in it, and then swiftly reported the group for explicit content. A few moments later, the group chat was shut down. In another group chat without Scarlett, question marks started popping up, with everyone asking Julian what had happened. But Julian was at Scarlett's award ceremony and had no time to deal with them. If I could, I would have reported Julian's account too. Scarlett wasn't Julian's first mistress, but she was definitely the one he invested the most in, spoiling her beyond reason. 6 months ago, Scarlett had appeared out of nowhere in the entertainment world, her debut role being the lead in a major streaming platform's blockbuster production. Although the show was a massive flop, her marketing was a success, and she remained a fixture on the entertainment hot search lists for half a year. With terrible acting but incredible resources, her background was quickly dug up. Her illicit relationship with Julian came to light. My friend Vanessa, a well-established actress, called to ask me what was going on. I sighed internally. Julian must really be into this girl for even Vanessa, who was completely out of the loop, to be catching up on their drama. It showed just how little he cared about being discreet. I told Vanessa bluntly that Scarlett was Julian's new favorite. Vanessa spat. I was auditioning for director Zhang's new film. The lead role was already mine, but on the day I went to sign the contract, they handed me the contract for the second female lead. That bastard Julian had his arm around that girl and stole my role right in front of me. That bastard Julian was my friend's affectionate nickname for him. He deserved it. Vanessa mimicked Julian's voice. 100 million. I'm buying this role. Another 100 million. And you can play the second lead. Supporting her. To hell with him. I'm a multi-award-winning actress. Why should I be a stepping stone for this scumbag's little fling? She wants to climb over me to get to the top. Not in this lifetime. Vanessa was furious. If not for the fact that Julian's ancestors were innocent and our families were old friends, she would have cursed his entire lineage 18 generations back. Julian deserved the scolding. Stealing a role from a family friend for his mistress was a low blow. It was also a clear indicator of how infatuated he was with Scarlett. People in our circle were already speculating that he might be planning to make Scarlett his wife. Even Julian's group of friends had started calling her sister-in-law, which made Scarlett blush and nestle into Julian's arms with shy anticipation. My close friends were all worried about me, cursing Julian behind his back hundreds of times over. I listened quietly to Vanessa's tirade against Julian, chiming in with agreement now and then. When she finally tired herself out, I said, "Want to go out next week?" Vanessa seemed to take a sip of water to soothe her throat. "Sure. A $30 million budget. Minimum. No problem." So, the following week, Vanessa and I took 18 male models out on a yacht. The trip lasted only a week. When we got back, I gifted Vanessa a yacht, valued at exactly $30 million. Of course, Julian paid for everything, including the fee for hiring the models. Right now, the 200-inch screen was playing Scarlett's cloying acceptance speech. The camera flashed to Julian's face for a moment. A pair of scumbags. I opened my phone and finalized a $5 million deal with an overseas Chinese antique collector, arranging to trade 2 Tang Dynasty porcelain pieces next week. A woman can live without love, but she can't live without money. My marriage to Julian was one of convenience, a business arrangement. Although we had known each other since childhood, we weren't close. It was our parents who decided to unite the two families, and only then did we begin to seriously get to know one another. Our pre-marital courtship was pleasant. He had no old flame, and I had no long-lost love. We were a good match in terms of looks and personality, so we naturally proceeded to marriage. When we first got married, Julian said what was his was mine, and I could spend as I pleased, as long as I didn't bankrupt him. Such a perfect romantic line. Who wouldn't be moved? In the beginning, I wasn't the big spender I am now. I managed the assets he gave me well, and even added a significant amount to our joint account. Even for a business marriage, we had something of a honeymoon period, until the 4th year of our marriage, when he began to stray, finding his red rose. The story began quite romantically. He was invited to a tech summit in a remote city and met a girl on the plane who was traveling to the area. She had originally bought an economy ticket, but due to a system error, her seat was double booked. The airline upgraded her for free, and she ended up sitting next to Julian. The girl was lively, cheerful, and talkative. On the long flight, she struck up a conversation with Julian, generously sharing her travel stories and how she had seen most of the country on a shoestring budget. Julian had never met someone who lived such a rich and colorful life in poverty. He praised her vitality and admired her vibrant freedom. His heart wavered for a moment, but his good upbringing stopped him from impulsively asking for her contact information. Perhaps fate saw the spark between them and couldn't bear for them to miss their chance, because it arranged for them to run into each other several more times in the city. And just like that, they naturally entered each other's lives. It was a beautiful story. If I weren't Julian's legal wife, I would have gladly offered them my blessing. But alas, there were no ifs. Julian was shamelessly honest, not hiding a single thing from me. I asked him what he was thinking. He said, "It's hard to be with just one person for a lifetime. People always crave novelty. There are so many different kinds of people in the world. Why should I be trapped by marriage and miss out on all the different colors the world has to offer?" He sounded quite poetic, just a little detestable. I asked him if he wanted a divorce. He said there was no need, and thoughtfully suggested I could also try seeing other people. It was the first time I had ever heard a man encourage his own wife to cheat on him. Quite novel. I didn't quite understand him, but I understood profit. Our families were joined by business, and the benefits of this marriage far outweighed the damage caused by his infidelity. So we continued to maintain a superficial peace by unspoken agreement. Later, just as he said, he was chasing novelty. He never invested real feelings in his mistresses. Once he got bored, he'd find someone new. It was an endless cycle. Our circle wasn't large, so it was no secret that Julian had started keeping mistresses. This world is very forgiving of men. When a man makes a mistake, It's always the woman who is criticized, ridiculed, and blamed. At the first business gala after Julian's cheating became public, I became the subject of their gossip. Some were disdainful, some were sympathetic, and some were gloating. There were even those who kindly advised me on how to deal with the mistresses and win back Julian's heart. For those little flings outside, all you need to do is send them a lawyer's letter demanding the return of your joint marital assets, and they'll back off. And you know men, they love to be coaxed. Soften up a bit, act cute, cook him a meal or two, and he'll be wrapped around your finger. Have a child, a boy. No matter how much drama those vixens outside stir up, they'll never be able to shake your position. Listening to this, I just felt annoyed. They didn't seem to understand what a business marriage was. In wealthy families, men don't marry down, and women don't either. The families are of equal standing, which is why they arrange marriages. After all, when life is good, who wants to give away half their assets to uplift someone else? In this marriage, I was not the subordinate party. I didn't need to grovel and please Julian. Our marriage was a partnership, and he was the one who had violated the agreement. In a business partnership, the party in breach of contract has to pay a penalty. I was not the one who needed to back down. When Julian cheated, he was the party at fault. I demanded company shares as compensation, and he agreed without objection, giving me 5% of Thorn Corporation's shares that same day. And yet these outsiders presumed to teach me how to win back Julian's heart. A bit absurd. I grew tired of hearing such talk and stopped wanting to attend these business gatherings. But Julian needed me to attend with him. So every gala I attended as his wife came with a price tag. Sports cars, villas, manors, jewelry, private islands, yachts. The compensation Julian gave me was so valuable that I started to suspect I was the biggest beneficiary of his cheating. But most people couldn't see the transactions behind the scenes. They only saw me as a pitiful woman scorned by her husband, and their words were often offensive. Every bit of effort Julian spent on his mistress became a weapon others used against me. I was fed up, so I took my anger out on the culprit, Julian. For every penny he spent on his mistress, I would spend 10 times that amount. He bought his mistress a villa, so I would buy a manor. He gave her a $100,000 car, so I would buy $1 million one. He'd gift an $800,000 necklace on a whim, and I'd buy a $2 million jade piece just because. But in the eyes of others, this was just another act in the drama of me competing with his mistress for his affection. It was exhausting, but at least the money was real. To celebrate Scarlett's award, Julian and his buddies decided to throw her a celebration party. For God's sake, I'd never seen such self-deception. How could they celebrate an award they'd paid for? Some moron sent an invitation to my house. Vanessa brought some gossip from her circles. Apparently, Scarlett had also invited people from the film industry, directors, producers, cinematographers. I was puzzled. Did she invite the entire film crew? Vanessa pursed her lips. With the movie flopping that badly, the director's reputation is in the toilet. She really has no self-awareness. If I were the director or producer, I'd show up with a machete and chop her up. $100 million investment for a $5,000 box office return. They lost everything. What kind of idiot had Julian found this time? It was hard to say. To wash away the disgust of receiving the invitation, I decided to go shopping to clear my head. While I was out, I got a bank alert. Julian had bought Scarlett a car. I could just imagine the kind of press releases Scarlett would put out. The thought of the internet being flooded with their trashy affair tomorrow, with me once again painted as the abandoned wealthy wife, annoyed me. So, I bought each of my best friends a $500,000 supercar and then went to a club by myself to hire some male models for entertainment. It wasn't that I was being selfish. Their work schedules just didn't allow them to join. I must not have checked the calendar before leaving, because I ran into Julian and his group. They were on the first floor. We had booked the second. One of Julian's friends stepped out of their private room to deal with a call from his wife checking up on him and saw me arriving at the club. His Clara sounded like a startled bird. A bit unpleasant. Julian's friends didn't particularly like me, and the feeling was mutual, but we were acquaintances, and he had greeted me. I couldn't just embarrass him. I composed myself in a second, turned to him, and offered a perfectly measured smile. Good evening. Out with friends. The person who had called out to me was Julian's younger cousin, Leo. He was still young and lacked the sleazy air of a seasoned player like Julian and his friends. He walked over. A little shy. Clara, are you here looking for my cousin? He's in the private room right now. Should I get him for you? His voice trailed off. Probably because he remembered halfway through that Scarlett was also there and was afraid I'd actually go to their room and cause trouble. I had no intention of making things difficult for him. I made up a lie. No. I'm here with friends. You guys have fun. Don't tell your cousin I'm here. With that, I waved and went upstairs. I hired 12 male models who could sing, wanting to experience the pleasure of ancient nobles listening to music from a balcony. Melodious songs filled the room. A shoulder massage here, a leg rub there, being fed snacks. It was quite pleasant. I had listened to a super popular song on social media 3 times in a row when the door to our room was suddenly pushed open from the outside. The singer, draped in a sheer white robe that revealed the faint outline of his abs, was startled by the interruption and stopped singing. I opened my eyes blearily. Sing. Why did you stop? I reached into my bag, pulled out a stack of cash, and tossed it on the table. Keep singing. The model's song resumed. The music was back, but I sensed something was off in the room. I opened my eyes fully and saw Julian at the door, with Scarlett behind him. Figures. Men are untrustworthy creatures. Julian was standing in the shadows, his expression unreadable, but I could see Scarlett's face clearly behind him. A mix of jealousy, fear, panic, and probing curiosity, with a hint of excitement and schadenfreude. I vaguely saw media reporters behind her. She was so agitated. She probably thought she had caught me in a scandal, something she could use to force the Thorne family to abandon me as their daughter. In law, a mistress who doesn't scheme to take the wife's place isn't a good mistress. Youth is great. You wear all your emotions on your face. I glanced at them for a second before closing my eyes again to enjoy myself. Footsteps entered the room. Soon, the music stopped, followed by Julian's low command. Get out. No one in the room listened to him. He repeated, get out. TSK. What a spoilsport. I opened my eyes and gestured for the models to leave. I stood up to gather my things as well. I wasn't stupid enough to confront Julian here. He had no right to question me. After the last model left, someone closed the door from the outside. I sneered. Julian, you're not going to be a sore loser, are you? Scarlett stood beside Julian, looking timid and pitiful. Ms. Thorne, how could you betray Julian and speak to him like that? I rolled my eyes so hard they almost got stuck. I raised my hand and slapped Scarlett across the face. They were both stunned by my sudden attack. Scarlett covered her face, looking aggrieved. Ms. Thorne, why did you hit me? She then looked at Julian with teary eyes. Julian pulled her behind him. Clara, what are you doing? I hated it when Julian barked at me. I cleaned out my ear. Allow me to remind you that every cent your dear Julian spends on you is half mine. So remember this. I am your sugar mama. From now on, call me Mrs. Thorne. A mistress should know her place. Don't meddle in things that don't concern you. If you run your mouth again, I might just have to pull out your tongue. As I spoke, I patted Scarlett's face affectionately, with the same gentleness I used on my corgi. But Scarlett just trembled and shrank further into Julian's arms. A clinging vine. So boring. I picked up my heavy bag and left. I had brought 20,000 in cash and had just spent 16. So annoying. Julian reached out a hand to stop me. Wait. I'll take you home. Scarlett looked alarmed and immediately started sobbing in his arms. Julian. It hurts. Julian hesitated slightly, then said to me, I'll have Leo take you home. I didn't refuse and accepted readily. Sure. I opened the door and grabbed Leo, who was waiting outside. I hadn't been drinking. I pushed Leo into the passenger seat of my car and sped all the way to his house. When he got out, he was vomiting by the side of the road. I lit a cigarette and leaned against the car, taking slow drags. Men are the most unified creatures on this planet. They love putting virtual green hats on each other. When one man is betrayed, a whole group of them feels the sting. They rush to inform each other and keep a close watch on each other's wives. Leo stood up from the ground, looking weak. Clara, Since when did you start driving so aggressively? My tone was flat. Didn't I tell you not to tell your cousin? His voice weakened. I was just worried about you being at the club alone. I nodded, showing I understood. Right. And as a return favor, I've just told your wife about your evening. Leo's face went pale, and he quickly looked towards the villa's entrance. His wife was standing in the light, her smile laced with daggers. My mission accomplished. I waved to Leo's wife and drove away. Most men think the cost of lying to their wives is far lower than the cost of telling the truth. There's hardly a man in this world who doesn't lie to his wife. It's just a matter of the nature and severity of the lies. They don't understand how much women value a partner's loyalty. They think lying is a small thing. Day by day, trust erodes. And it can all collapse in a single night. I have a bit of a vengeful streak. Messing with me is like kicking a steel plate. The next morning, I woke up to the rare sight of Julian. He was sitting on the edge of my bed, watching me sleep. The moment I woke up, I threw a punch, shattering the left lens of his glasses. Shards of glass cut his face and hand. The family doctor rushed over to bandage him up. I've never had much sympathy for people I dislike. I sat at the dining table and ate my breakfast. Julian's eyes never left me, seeing my complete lack of remorse. He got angry. Then, for some reason, he smiled. Clara, don't you think you owe me an apology? I slurped the spicy tofu pudding prepared by a chef specially hired from Sichuan, still not giving him a single glance. You've done so many things to wrong me. Have you apologized for every single one? Julian was at a loss for words. That's different. I asked him again. Is our relationship one where a simple apology can make everything right again? Julian fell silent. I've never been one for beating around the bush, especially with someone I know inside and out. Julian seemed to be thinking, and finally sighed in resignation. I bought all the photos the paparazzi took of you. He seemed to be waiting for a thank you. Those photos, which Scarlett had arranged for the paparazzi to take, would indeed be damaging to me if they were released. But I had no reaction. Julian grew agitated. Do you have to be like this? I finished my tofu pudding and started on the soup dumplings. Julian, I don't think you understand who is responsible for our current situation. It was your mess, so it was your responsibility to clean it up. After a long silence, Julian asked tentatively, do you have someone else now? It was a strange question, posed with both curiosity and fear. Men are so strange. They can have countless affairs, but expect their wives at home to remain faithful. No rules in the world seem to apply to them. Yet they want women to always stay within the lines. I gave him a knowing smile. What do you think? I saw an emotion called shattering appear in Julian's eyes. It was quite satisfying. He was the one who said I could cross the line. But in the end, he couldn't accept it. A man's generosity is also a lie. Scarlett was trending on social media again. She had posted a picture of a supercar with no caption. In the comments, Scarlett's fans were fawning over her romance. Yes, Scarlett had fans. They were asking her to start a masterclass on how to catch a rich, handsome, and well-built heir like Julian. Truly, morals only constrain those who have them. Fortunately, I'm rather lacking in that department. I spent some money to snatch a few of Scarlett's major brand deals and gave them to her rival. While Scarlett was busy showing off her sweet love life, her rival announced 10 new endorsements in a single day. Scarlett was labeled as love-brained, while her rival built up an image as a career-focused, independent woman. The contrast was stark. Scarlett's public image was already poor, and now it was even worse. She was smart enough to go complain to Julian. Clara, if you have a problem, come to me. Don't take it out on a young girl. I didn't hear much accusation in his tone. It sounded more like he was pleased. I think Julian was hoping Scarlett and I would compete over him. Men's pitiful self-confidence needs to be fed by women fighting for their affection. Even Julian wasn't immune to this. If you're going to put it that way, then give me another 5% of the company's shares. Unlike the thin-skinned heroines in romance novels, I had the guts to ask for what I wanted. My sense of entitlement was overflowing. There was nothing in this world I didn't deserve. The other end of the line went silent. I said sarcastically, Don't tell me, Mr. Thorne is reluctant. Julian was a rational man. In his eyes, Scarlett was not yet worth 5% of Thorne Corporation. He hung up. But the next day, He had a lawyer deliver the deed to a villa in the capital. It was his pre-nuptial property. Quite generous. I accepted it. Julian compensated Scarlett with other endorsement deals. He was so in love. As long as the money was right and Scarlett didn't directly provoke me, I had no interest in getting involved in Julian's messes. Even when Julian used to get rid of his past mistresses, he would have his secretary handle it. He knew very well that I was not someone he could summon and dismiss at will. If he wanted me to make a move, he had to pay. I thought I wouldn't be seeing Julian for a while, but when I came home from the gym, there he was. The bastard was leaning against the sofa with his eyes closed, legs crossed, the top 2 buttons of his black shirt undone. If I were just appreciating a man, I'd find him devilishly handsome. But he was Julian. So right now, his long body looked like a leech. I didn't want to be in the same room with him. I took the still, warm fried chicken I was holding and headed upstairs. Julian spoke. Grandpa wants us to come to the main house for dinner. I didn't stop, just kept chewing and walking upstairs. He sounded a little helpless. Do you have to put a price on everything you do now? I kept going upstairs. He relented. 2 million. I kept going. An hour. I need to change. I changed into an outfit the elders would appreciate, tied my hair in a bun, and gracefully descended the stairs. I didn't miss the flash of admiration in Julian's eyes. His appreciation was not a good thing for me right now. So I said, 200,000. For expenses. The damn man rubbed his brow. Clara, don't push it. I was unconcerned. The styling team you hired for Scarlett must be expensive. Whatever her look costs. Mine is worth 10 times that. Don't tell me you're so poor you don't even have 200,000. Julian didn't argue further. He turned and walked into the elevator, and I followed him down to the underground garage. Julian chose a black car, looking like he planned to drive himself, probably from the habit of opening doors for Scarlett. He opened the passenger door for me, a wolf in sheep's clothing. I ignored him and got into the driver's seat of another white car. Julian slammed the car door and walked angrily towards my car. Clara, what's the meaning of this? Do you want Grandpa to know we're not getting along? I locked the doors, rolled down the window halfway, and said mockingly, Mr. Thorne, does the Thorne family estate not have internet or a television? You've been so high profile. The entire city knows we're only a couple in name. Is there any need to pretend? With that, I rolled up the window and floored it out of the garage. All the way there, Julian drove like a raging maniac, honking incessantly behind me. Then, while waiting at a red light, another driver rolled down his window and yelled at him. Are you trying to wear out your horn? Honk, honk, honk. I've already moved over for you. Can't you just pass? Julian had never been subjected to such treatment. He argued back, refusing to admit fault or apologize. The other driver took out his phone and started taking pictures of Julian's license plate. You just wait. I'm going to cure you of this nasty habit today. Or my name's not mine. I rolled down my window and taunted Julian. Ooh, you're going to get reported. Just then, the light turned green, and I sped off, leaving Julian behind. A chorus of horns erupted behind him. He was slow to start and was being urged on by other drivers. Ha 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 ha. Julian and I arrived at the Thorne family's main house one after the other. Although the Thorne family was wealthy, the older generation was more low-key. The main house had been renovated around the year 2000. It was a traditional Chinese-style building, simple yet dignified, with the house and courtyard totaling only about 5,000 square feet. As soon as we arrived, someone came out to greet us. The sight of Julian and me getting out of 2 different cars left them a little shocked. It's a tradition among our people. No matter how rotten things are on the inside, you must maintain appearances. I got out of the car and swapped my driving flats for a pair of heels. That damn poser Julian, without a word, took the shoes from my hand and knelt on one knee to change them for me. The butler, who had been nervous just a moment ago, immediately relaxed and came forward with a smile. I had a strong urge to kick Julian. Phew, I resisted. Once my shoes were on and I was standing, I immediately shook off Julian's hand and followed the butler inside. Julian's grandparents were both still alive and in good health. They were happy to see us. Grandma pulled me aside to chat in the living room, while Grandpa took Julian into the study. The Thorne family was quite traditional. They didn't have a history of keeping mistresses. One of the reasons my family had agreed to the marriage was because of the Thorne family's clean and respectable reputation. Who knew a fine bamboo grove could produce a rotten shoot like Julian? I figured Julian was in the study getting a lecture, keeping a mistress so publicly that the whole city knew. Julian was one of a kind. The grandfather and grandson stayed in the study until dinner was served. In the meantime, Julian's parents also arrived. The six of us sat at the dining table, and I felt like I was at a banquet with hidden daggers. Sure enough, when we were about halfway through the meal, Grandpa spoke up. "Julian, Clara, you two aren't young anymore. It's time to have a child." My chopsticks fell, and I choked on my food. Julian continued to play the part of the perfect husband, patting my back. In a corner where no one could see, I glared at him. "This is your problem. You solve it." I had no idea that this one small gesture would lead the four elders to conclude that our old feelings were still there. After signaling to Julian, I pretended to look at him shyly, indicating that I would follow his lead. This fit with the public rumor that I was being neglected by my husband, and a man who openly cheated for years would presumably be unwilling to be intimate with his wife at home. I had done my part. Now, Julian could naturally refuse their suggestion. I wasn't going to be the one blamed for not getting pregnant. That blame should fall squarely on Julian. But Julian said, "All right, I also think it's time for us to settle down." The bastard backstabbed me. I was so angry I could grind my teeth to dust. I reached under the table and pinched the soft flesh of his inner thigh. Julian didn't make a sound, but he forcibly pried my hand away, his large hand enveloping mine, restraining me from pinching him again. Everyone was very pleased with Julian's answer. As we were leaving, Grandma told us to take the family's housekeeper with us. "Let Anchin go with you to help you get your bodies in shape. I want to hold my little great-grandchild soon." Julian readily agreed. I really wanted to kill him. Anchin was the old lady's eyes and ears. With her around, Julian now came home every day, morning, noon, and night, one medicinal soup after another. I was about to throw up. What was even more frustrating was that the bastard had moved back into my room. We hadn't shared a room since he confessed to his affair. Honestly, I found him a bit dirty. "This is my bed. You sleep on the sofa." I ordered him out. "The bed is so big. What's wrong with sharing half?" Julian made himself comfortable on the other side. I threw off the covers, grabbed my pillow, and sat on the sofa. "I am not having a child with you. You'd better make that clear to the elders soon, or we can get a divorce." Julian's Adam's apple bobbed. After a long moment, he spoke. "Is it really that impossible for you to accept me again?" I retorted, "What do you think?" The life Julian envisioned was one where he had a perfectly compatible and virtuous wife at home, and a vibrant, young mistress outside, fulfilling both his practical needs and his desire for novelty. In the first week after he confessed his affair, I came out of the shower in a bathrobe, and he instinctively tried to kiss me. I refused. "Move all your things out as soon as possible. This is my private space from now on. Please get my permission before entering." There were several other times he tried to initiate physical contact, and I pushed him away every time. He asked me why. He couldn't understand why I would accept him having other women but refuse to be intimate with him. I asked him, "Would you share a toothbrush with someone else?" He shook his head. I explained. "To me, a man is like a toothbrush. It's not something to be shared." He understood. He never approached me again, not even during the periods when he didn't have a mistress. Julian got off the bed, looking frustrated. "You sleep on the bed." He left the room. A moment later, a maid came in to change the sheets, presumably on Julian's orders. He didn't come back into my room. He got dressed and drove out. The next day, Julian's grandmother came to visit. Anchin must have told her about Julian and me sleeping in separate rooms. Last night, before leaving, Julian had instructed the servants to move his things from my room back to his old one. "Clara, dear, did you and Julian have a fight? If that boy bullied you, you tell me, and I'll teach him a lesson for you." I shook my head. "No, we're fine." Grandma didn't believe me. "If you're fine, then why are you sleeping in separate rooms?" I didn't know what to say. Was I supposed to tell her I found Julian dirty and didn't want to sleep with him? Grandma could see I was reluctant to talk and didn't press further. "That boy has done a lot of foolish things these past few years. Grandma is apologizing to you on his behalf." This was so annoying. Knowing someone was about to pull the respect your elders card and not being able to fight back. I wanted to get on all fours and crawl away into the darkness. I kept smiling. No, Grandma, please don't overthink it. I'll make him break it off with everyone outside. From now on, he will only be devoted to you and this family. They say a prodigal son's return is more precious than gold. You have to give him a chance. The old lady held my hand, her words sincere, her eyes full of hope. I wished I could turn into a monkey on Mount Amé, swinging from branch to branch and kicking that bastard Julian to his death. I continued to smile. Really, Grandma, please don't worry. We're truly fine. The old lady stayed for the entire morning. In my mind, I had already stabbed Julian thousands of times with a 3-foot sword. Seriously, couldn't Julian just die? It was his problem. But everyone was making it difficult for me. That evening, Julian came home again. Anshin repeated the same words the old lady had said that morning to Julian. He looked at me, a flicker of light returning to his eyes. Damn it. I told you I hate idiots. When Anshin wasn't around, I seized the opportunity to shatter Julian's illusions. Those were just words to placate Grandma. You and me. It's impossible. Julian reached across the dinner table and grabbed my hand. I can't be without an heir. The Thorn Corporation needs a successor. I pulled my hand away. Then let's get a divorce. The interests of our two families are so deeply intertwined. You should know how much damage a divorce would cause. Then you can wait to die without an heir. And watch the Thorn Corporation fall into your uncle's hands. With that, I didn't want to look at him anymore and went back to my room to escape Julian and his family's pressure to have a child. I used work as an excuse and flew to America. The work was antique appraisal and acquisition, a publicly funded trip that the Thorn family couldn't interfere with. The team was led by a senior of mine, now a university professor. The team was full of experts, so there was no need for a half-baked person like me. My main role was to be the sponsor, which meant swiping my card to pay for things. While they worked, I went out to have fun on my own, out of a sense of rebellion, I suppose. I picked up an international student at a bar. He was 6 feet 3 inches, had abs, and was incredibly handsome. The handsome guy was quite eager. I just wanted to touch his abs, but he said he couldn't without a health report. I was silent for a moment. In your country, can you get a disease from touching abs? The handsome guy's ears turned red. He ripped off his shirt. Very generous. My fingers lingered on his abs, and then I used them as a pillow and fell into a deep sleep. I spent 2 months messing around with the handsome student. Life was so good I almost forgot I was married. Vanessa sent me a news clip. Scarlett had participated in a cooking variety show and, during a backstage interview, revealed she was pregnant, calling out Julian to marry her. I don't know where she heard that the Thorn family's old patriarch wants a grandson, but she played Julian and got pregnant. Clara, what are you going to do? I was indifferent. It's just an illegitimate child. Even if the Thorn family lets Scarlett have the baby, they won't force a divorce on me for it. As long as they don't make me raise it, it's no threat to me. Once Julian gradually retired from the business world, I would divorce him and take half his fortune. It was still a very good deal. Who could he blame? When we got married, he was so sure we would love each other without doubt, growing old together. So he didn't sign a prenuptial agreement. It wasn't my fault. I had also thought about spending my life with him. He was the one who strayed. A person who betrays true feelings will inevitably be betrayed in return. Julian's call came when I was lying on the handsome guy's abs, studying the constellation of Sirius with him. Clara, when you're done playing, it's time to come back. I didn't give him an easy out. I'm not done. He sighed. There's something I need your help with for public relations. I knew he was going to talk about Scarlett's pregnancy. I wasn't inclined to cooperate. When I didn't respond, Julian brought it up himself. Scarlett is pregnant. She announced it on a show, and the corporation is now entangled in negative press. He was being diplomatic. Thorn Corporation was more than just entangled in negative press. The stock had been falling for a week straight, but this wasn't a major crisis for a company of its size. I didn't understand why Julian was in such a hurry. He was probably facing pressure from the board to step down. There's only one top spot. Anyone with a bit of ambition wants it. For my own benefit, I figured I should probably go back and help Julian. but I was reluctant to leave the handsome guy with the abs. As I was hesitating about when to return, I made the mistake of asking Julian a question. If I come back to help you, what do you plan to do about Scarlett and the baby? Julian was silent for a moment. We'll register it under your name. As our child. I thought I was hearing things. I sat up from the handsome guy's abs. What? You don't want to have children anyway. Isn't it good to get a child for free? Damn it. I felt like I had been struck by lightning. Julian was precision, dancing on all my triggers. Some things can be overlooked if they are kept quiet. But Julian was insulting me. Insulting my entire family. I laughed out of sheer anger. You want me to raise your illegitimate child? Can you afford the price? What are your terms? I'll do my best to meet them. He actually wanted to negotiate with me. Usually calm. I couldn't help but roar. I want your entire fortune. Can you afford that? I slammed the phone on the ground, and Julian's disgusting voice vanished. I washed my face and gradually calmed down. I sent the handsome guy away, bought a new phone, and put my SIM card in it. I called my sister. Sis, I want a divorce. My sister didn't hesitate. Okay, it might take some time. I'll call you when it's done. My sister was the head of our generation in the family. She had defeated all our siblings to secure her position as the heir and was now in full control of our family's corporation. She was terrifyingly competent. If she said okay, the divorce was definitely happening. The only question was how to withdraw from the Thorne family's storm unscathed, or even tear a few pieces of flesh off them on the way out. The Thorne family had been unjust. They couldn't blame us for being ruthless. It took 2 full years before my sister told me to come home and get my divorce certificate. Thorne Corporation had been delisted from the stock market. Of course, a scandal alone doesn't have that much power. The corporation had been targeted. The market is only so big. Everyone wants a bigger piece of the pie. Kicking someone when they're down is common practice in business. It was only because Thorne Corporation was so large that it managed to hold on for so long under siege. After 2 years, it had merely downsized and delisted, not gone bankrupt completely. When I saw Julian at the Civil Affairs Bureau, he was no longer the dashing man he used to be. A heavy weariness surrounded him. He had dark circles under his eyes and a scruffy beard. Clara, can we please not get a divorce? His use of my nickname sent a shiver of disgust down my spine. Don't call me that. It's disgusting. A deep sadness filled Julian's eyes. You're always like this. You never give people a chance to make a mistake and correct it. I was truly speechless. Are you serious? Are you still trying to shift the blame onto me? What? Did I force you to cheat? Did I compel you to have relations with your mistress? Did I steal the condoms while you and Scarlett were fooling around? Julian's defeated face turned even darker, leaving only an unhealthy paleness on his lips. I walked ahead, and Julian followed. We used some connections to skip the line. The staff asked the routine questions. Julian tried one last time to save the marriage. He carefully took my hand. Clara, I've broken it off with her. Can we please not get a divorce? I pulled my hand away. No. The stamp fell heavily on the divorce certificate. I took my copy and turned to leave. My sister told me that 2 years ago. Because of the scandal, Julian was forced out of his position. Now that the Thorne family was struggling, they had brought him back to try and turn the tide. Scarlett's child was born after all. But she and Julian never married. The Thorne family gave Scarlett a sum of money and took the child. Scarlett left the country. The Thorne family forbade her from ever appearing in our country again. The eldest grandson of the Thorne family couldn't have a mother with such a tainted reputation. Whatever. My sister had acquired a significant portion of the Thorne family's assets, and our family's corporation was thriving. Although Julian's fortune had shrunk, I still walked away with a considerable amount, plus all the things I had bought over the years. He was quite generous. What he had given me, he let me keep. He didn't try to take things back just because his circumstances had changed. I ran into members of the Thorne family a few times after the divorce. Julian's mother tried to reconcile us. Perhaps my past behavior had been too convincing. They all seemed to think I had deep feelings for Julian. They wanted me to remarry him, so our family could help prop up theirs again. All I remembered was that during the 2 years I was waiting for the divorce abroad, she had called me multiple times, trying to persuade me to accept Julian's illegitimate child. She had been decent to me before. Not a terrible mother in law, but our interests could never align. You and Julian used to be so good together. How did it come to this? I looked down at the sleeping child in the stroller she was pushing. Isn't the reason right here? Julian knowingly broke the rules, and his mother knowingly asked a foolish question. Truly cut from the same cloth. If you ask what advantages a 32-year-old divorced, single, childless woman has, it's the lack of pressure to get married and have kids. My sister conquered new territories for the family business, and I guarded the treasury. She entrusted all the family's private assets to my management, and they grew exponentially. She said that Julian missing out on me was one of his greatest losses. I laughed. But leaving him was getting rid of one of my biggest problems. When I turned 40, Julian, seeing that I hadn't remarried, came sniffing around again. In our circles, my financial investment skills were well known. After I left Julian, people finally realized that I, Clara, was not some useless woman who relied on a man. The narrative had shifted. They now said that divorcing me was Julian's loss. Julian wanted to reclaim that loss. He said, "Do you want to remarry me?" A man's confidence is sometimes truly baffling. He couldn't possibly think I still had feelings for him. Could he? I said, "I don't think so. I'm not into old men." He smiled, thinking he was being indulgent. Is a man in his early 40s really that old? Men really do get greasier with age. I don't know about other 40-year-olds, but you definitely have one foot in the grave. I turned a mirror towards him. The man in the reflection was no longer young. You could tell he had been handsome once, but now he was just an ordinary middle-aged man. Although the Thorn Corporation was a shadow of its former self, it was still substantial. But so many companies had kicked it when it was down, and they all feared its resurgence and potential retaliation. So they continued to suppress it. No matter how capable Julian was, he couldn't fight the entire market. He had aged. His body was old, and his spirit was old. He wouldn't give up. You're 42. But my 20-year-old boyfriend says I don't look a day over 25. As long as you take care of yourself. Your next boyfriend is still taking his college entrance exams. I, Clara, never considered men over the age of 22.